So now you should be able to click on video is what I'm thinking. There you go. All right. Hi there.
Excellent.
Perfect. All right. And I just got something in the Q&A. So that might be from, so Jen's on an old computer without sound or video. So.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Got it. Answer.
So at least we know we can get information that way. I'm still looking to see how to get chat going here.
Oh, so she's also at work. So she's trying to do a lot of things. So that's cool. That's cool. That's good. Yeah. Okay, good. So,
all right. Well, we're just going to wait a couple more minutes, see who else shows up, right?
Somebody else is going to come on, but we never know. Depends on what our other panelists have going on. And okay, so there's Gerhard. Hello, Gerhard.
Hi there. Hello, everyone.
I was just going to call you, Gerhard. I see you called earlier, but I was on with Becky.
Sorry, bathroom call, but here I am.
It happened. All right, I'm going to be right back. I'm just going to run grab a Kleenex.
While we're waiting, how many of you have read the letter to the editor this weekend by Peggy Schaufler from Swansea? Terrific letter. I just was able to call her. Her name was still in the 2014 telephone book I have. I still go back to kind of prehistoric ages when we had telephone books, and found her name, and I called her and I invited her next week. She cannot do it today. She may want to join this. Peggy Schaufler had a terrific letter, humorous letter in the newspaper this weekend.
Who was that, Gerhard?
Peggy Schaufler from Swansea.
Oh, yes.
And and she was delighted to be called by me, and because I found her phone number, and she is sending me an email, and I'd like to invite her next week, Monday at 1 o'clock, and I think she would enjoy being part of it.
Okay, good, because she does get email. She's one of the panelists that gets an email.
Yeah, she knows about this. She should.
Oh, she does know about this. Okay, anyway. But it was a humorous letter.
I'll have to go back and find it.
Here's the last sentence. Anyone who's not wearing a mask lacks patriotic duty to save mankind, and it is all China's fault. Anyway,
yeah,
it's a good letter.
Good. So anyway, so Frank and do you mind?
Shoshana.
Yes,
my wife Shoshana.
Shoshana?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks for joining us. So Gerhard, these are attendees, and we have the ability to offer, if they want to come on, be promoted to a panelist and be part of our face-to-face discussion. So glad to have you guys today. Thanks so much. So we've had quite a bit of progress during the last week. John Michael's been really working on the website, incredibly so, and lots of information there, just constantly updated, but also we were able to put together an ad for the Monadnock Shopper, a half-page ad that looks like, have you had a chance to see it at all? Frank and Shoshana, have you?
No, we had a chance to see the ad. We did just recently come across the site, and we haven't fully read through everything.
Yeah.
Saw this Zoom meeting, so we jumped on it.
Okay, good.
Great.
So we also, and if you can actually see that ad right on the website, it's on the.
Actually, I haven't. The ad hasn't fully gotten onto the website.
Oh, it hasn't.
But I can post it.
Well, I can share my screen. I've got it. I can share my screen.
Oh, why don't you just go ahead and share that then?
Yeah.
Jen's trying so hard.
It's an invisible Jen there.
Sorry, I still got to get back where I can actually share. Supposed to share. Okay, so I did this in my newsletter. I kind of put it in there this week. So it looks like this. which is really awesome. So you guys can take a look at that. So we're very, this is going to reach, I think it's like something like 52,000 people, or how many people? And then the Monadnock Shopper is, you know, free of charge.
More than
So-
40, more than 40,000 at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so this will go to all the regions. We did it as an ad as opposed to a flyer because as my sales rep at the Shopper was saying, people are kind of flyer fatigued right now after the politics and everything. And also that, you know, if you do flyers, you have to determine which towns are going to get what flyers, and it's actually much more expensive. So this is like part of the paper. And so we're super.
What size is this again?
Like 10 by 8.
Okay.
It's a half page.
Yeah, half page. And what's really great about it too is that we've been great at preaching to the choir as far as like our own people within our own spheres of influence via the internet, but we've not had any ability really in print to really get our name out there. And then what we're also looking at is the Shopper offers for advertisers, and again, we would pay for this, but it is like you're on the front page and you're a highlighted business or organization. And then with that comes, we could even be doing like a weekly, very small ad, like I do for my business, quite reasonably. We could follow that up, and that comes with a decent price if we get a reporter to come in and interview us and do a story on us, as opposed to just us speaking.
Great.
Yeah. And then some other things, I'm going to stop the share because I think everybody's seen that, and then I can see everybody better. But the other thing we're talking about today, somebody was reached us and was interested in getting children who are interested in protesting, forming a protest for masking and social distancing in school. And so I think we got maybe 4, possibly 5. Actually, Jen, I was thinking of Sarah, just so you know. I didn't reach out to you yet, but I was thinking that might be something she'd be interested in doing. And maybe she would know others as well who might be able to get together some sort of thing like that.
Yeah, I think what we'll probably do is shake the trees and see who else has kids who want to be involved, and maybe do a Zoom meeting with those people with the kids. And the idea would be to not have the parents direct the kids, but have the kids, to the degree possible, you know, tell us what they want to do, because there's nothing I hate more than, you know, seeing activism that's obviously driven by the adults and the adults messaging. The kids are
Using
smart.
the kids.
Kids are
Using
smart
the
these days.
Yeah.
And, you know, mostly we just need to say yes and get out of the way. So that would be my whole point, if that's doable.
Can I just interrupt for 1 second?
Mhm.
Kathy, you are welcome to speak, but if you'd like to be seen, I can upgrade you to a panelist. Just let us know what you prefer. And you don't have to do either. You can just listen. Be fine too.
Yeah, and just so people know, this is being recorded. In the future, or even now, if you don't necessarily want your name on there, you can right-click on your own picture and rename yourself. But this will be, you know, made available for people who are not able to be here. And so let me just announce who we are. Rebecca, myself, and Gerhard are members of the I think it was the steering committee, so-called the evolving steering committee. It's not like a closed thing or anything, of Rise Up New Hampshire. And this is our second attempt at doing a weekly webinar. And I'd just like to give an opportunity for Frank and Shoshana to share, if you want, about where you are and who you are and how you're, you know, how you found us exactly, and what your concerns might be. If you want to give us a short one on that.
Yeah, sure. We're new residents to New Hampshire. We're political refugees from New York. We moved here about 6, 7 weeks ago, and we're enjoying it thoroughly. We've started a small website called livefreeorcomply.com, and we've made signs and put them out all over the state in our travels. And then they just read "Live Free or Comply?" ? And then it says "Wake Up New Hampshire." So if you Google "Live Free or Comply," it'll come up, and we have a small store where you can buy bumper stickers and signs as well. But it's not fully, it's still under construction, so you can't buy anything right now. But if anybody's interested in any of that and wants to meet face to face, I'm happy to meet anywhere anyone would like, if anyone wants to promote that. But that's not why we're here. We're not here for promoting a business or anything. We started that as an outreach to get people to think and wake up, because we're tired. We're sick and tired of everything that's happening, the restrictions, the lockdowns, the false narrative of the whole COVID pandemic. It's just absurd. What's being done to children is absolutely criminal. They should be allowed to go back to school completely without any restrictions. So that's a little bit of where we are. So I'll let you guys follow up with any questions.
That's fantastic. I'm so excited to be able to sort of join forces with you. And we'd be pleased to make you a regular panelist as well.
Happy to be so. And, if you have any events or anything, any public sort of events, engagements, anything like that, we would love to come. And we would love to, basically just, stand up and fight for your cause and support it in any way.
Awesome. So do this for me. Like, you don't have to give me all your contact information right now since we're being recorded and everything, but if you even go to my website, wondrousroots.org, WONDROUS roots.org, and just go to the contact and say, you'll have your email in there and everything. And then I will add you to the webinar panelist group. And every week you'll get an invite to join as a panelist rather than as an attendee.
Great. I'll find your site. I'll navigate to you and get you my contact info. It's not a problem.
All right. I also do a weekly radio program, and you might be a good guest. So I'll talk to you about that in the future.
There you go.
There we go.
Yeah.
Well done.
Nice.
So there you guys are.
Yes. I came up with the phrase, and Shoshana did the design, and I'll let her explain what the metaphor in it all is.
Well, we heard about the pine tree riots, right? Back when in
1772.
in Ware. And so I thought we put a little blurb about that also on the website there, so people can kind of feel empowered and they're about their
part of New Hampshire history.
Part of the history, and maybe give them the courage to start standing up and fighting for what's always been here, which is a spirit of self-reliance.
Nice.
By we chose New Hampshire.
I don't know about the pine tree.
It's really, it's a great story. So, I don't want to take up a ton of time, but
we've got time. We have time.
It's short. Back when, so the British came, we had all these beautiful trees here in New Hampshire, and they said they were going to claim all the good trees for the masts of their ships. And of course, New Hampshire residents said, there's no way you're taking our trees. And so they rioted in their own way. They went into the homes of military or judges that were, decreeing and pushing this through for the British. And it was their own sort of, they did some things. They took some horses, they shaved their tails and cropped their ears, and it was their own way of showing defiance.
Their rebellion.
Their rebellion.
Right.
And the lore goes that it was the catalyst or the spark for the Boston Tea Party.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a great story to find. I think there's a couple of historical journals that have a more accurate and concise timeline to it. But so that's where that whole thing came from. So I'm just hoping that it inspires people, like I said, to go back and look at their roots here and say, you know what, let's reclaim that. get our boots on the ground and take back what is rightfully ours. Coming from New York, we watched our liberties get taken away.
Stripped.
I lobbied a lot up in Albany at our state capitol and had a lot of doors slammed in our faces, in my face. And to watch our religious exemptions get taken away, to see our school systems and our curriculum just get decimated, to watch the teachers unions take over. And they're following a false narrative now with COVID and what they're saying. And the science shows that. It shows that children are not these disease spreaders. They're using the narrative that they used for vaccination. It's the same playbook, right? They're just sticking COVID in there as the scary catchphrase. So we're familiar with it, and I don't want to see that happen here.
They're also doing this without, just the way they did in New York with the implementation of Common Core in the schools. None of this was voted on, and any votes that were done in some vague reference of a democratic process were closed door, done by panels who already decided what they were going to do. The people didn't get to choose anything, and that's wrong. And we need to keep that control. You have that still here in New Hampshire. New York is lost. So it's like that with everything that's happening with the pandemic, everything that Shoshana has already mentioned, and we firmly believe in fighting for that.
Oh yeah, great. So glad to have you on board.
So I'm guessing we're in the right place.
Yeah. Now, are you in the Keene area?
No, we're in Bedford.
Oh, okay.
Good.
All right, cool.
Gerhard, you need to unmute
You're
yourself.
muted. Gerhard, you got to unmute yourself.
Sometimes the unmuting helps and then I forget. Okay, I'm probably the oldest, close to 92, and it looks as if I might make that. And so totally delighted to see you. I'm a former resident of New York State too, but some time ago, like 30 years ago. But what we have is indeed promising here, and what is happening recently gives me a real heart that we're making progress. To see you two on the program today, I am totally delighted.
Yeah.
You need to know that in Keene, we have a very unusual additional feature that's been existing since 2006, where, and that is Cheshire TV, on local cable TV, is mainly supported by the city of Keene and Swansea to cover local events. They need to send, they need to be able to televise meetings of the council and so on. But basically, otherwise, as a place where you can bring what you believe in without censorship, that's been a unique place. And there have been a number of programs on there. The Tip of the Iceberg is one of them. And Johanna is one of the people on that who would like to come to this, but somehow she's so busy she didn't manage today, I guess.
No, you know what? Oh, you know what it is? She can't figure it out, and she needs her daughter to help her. But
all right.
Her daughter.
Right.
Understand that completely.
Right. But anyway, the Tip of the Iceberg is one of them, but it is not televised. If you wanted to get an impression of another show which I do, The View from Here, and you can find all the shows that on there, including Tip of the Iceberg, including you can find the latest. The first thing you'll see is the latest show. All you need to do is put in my name and YouTube, and then my website should appear, and all the actually shows on there all the way back to 2016 are on there. But the point is, I am clearly subversive in that show, but it is encouraged, it is available, and I believe it's on the way possibly right now with some problems between the board and the staff and some former people who were in it, who are allowed themselves to become part of the divide, because this whole nation, to the advantage of those that want to control us, is divided because, you know, I can't talk to you and you're on the other side, the demonizing of both sides. There's a little bit of going on, but I think it's on the point of being resolved. And I'm in touch with the current chair of the board, who is proposing me on the board. But What I'm totally delighted with is to see that people who are not necessarily where you and I and the group here today is, there are a lot of people still with an open mind. And the current chair of the board, I sent her it is also shown on Cheshire TV, the message of freedom and hope from Robert Kennedy. You've all seen it. It's an incredibly powerful tool at the moment. And she saw it and she is totally delighted. And she said, I want to see this on there. Well, it is on there on our website already, because it's one of those shorter ones that they plug in open spots in between, and then there are the regular shows. But I think they are on the point of becoming, if Cheshire TV, and they're working on it, and it's expensive, it seems, can be there on, what you call it, on the internet, which it isn't at the moment, and only a few of the panel people put their show on YouTube. So otherwise it's only seen by local people on cable. But if that show, uncensored show, can go on the internet, it can become an example for the nation, and we can get a lot of stuff out on there. So I think there's really hope in that one, and I wanted to just emphasize that amazing things happen. This person who delivers Meals on Wheels here today finally got to see my shows, and he says, oh, he's watched James Corbett for years. He's so delighted to see me. I have a feeling, you two are appearing here today, that funny things are happening left and right, that I think are going in the right direction. So that gives me hope.
Yeah.
Enough for me. I always talk too much.
Never enough from you, Gerhard. But I did also want to say I also like the fact that you are, not in the Minette, you're in Bedford. And because we want this to extend beyond the Monadnock region into, other areas of New Hampshire, hopefully all. And so that's our goal, is to make this a much wider pull.
And to that end, also, since you guys are new to Bedford, you may or may not already know that Bedford has its own public access TV channel, Bedford Community TV. BedfordNH.org has information on it, and you can put on a show there yourself. So we could, and then the recommendation, I think they may even be a little further ahead than Keene, because our TV station is not quite up to speed on all the latest tech, and it's not live streaming or streaming on the internet. I think Bedford is, so you may have an opportunity to have whatever you do there, if you choose to do something, which I would recommend, since you guys are over there, is getting up and getting your face out there as many ways as you can, and then let us know those shows as they're produced, and we can pick up the stream and make sure that people can find it on our website. There are a couple of other groups, Rebuild New Hampshire, which is actually at RiseUpNH.com, excuse me. And then 8.3.com, that's all spelled out. And so we're trying to connect, slowly all these groups together, and we'll just, because we don't want to reinvent the wheel anywhere. Reopen New Hampshire, Rebuild New Hampshire has been mostly focused on the legislative advocacy and electoral politics, which is good and necessary. And they had a lot of, I guess they had a lot of wins as far as the last election went, in terms of getting people who are similarly questioning the government's right to have these unitary powers. And so, but I consider what we're doing is transpartisan, even though a lot of libertarians and Republicans are part of us. I'm a progressive, I know Gerhard is, even though I would say the Democratic Party left me a long time ago, and so I'm not really aligned with any party, so to speak. I won't say more than that as far as specifics, but let's just put it this way: where we're going, where we're headed, is not about partisan politics. It's really more about citizenship and natural law and other, health freedom and other things that lie outside of traditional political boundaries, or politics tries to capture, but they don't have the the power or the right, in my view, to capture any of this area. So we're in, new territory, I think. And I love the whole pine cone thing or pine tree thing. I'm going to read up on that now that you brought it to my attention. And yeah, let's build on the things that we know are part of our heritage, because I think people need to feel connected historically, but also laterally with other people in the communities that we're engaged in.
Indeed. And I love your perspective on this about how everybody with different political viewpoints, what have you, can work together as adults for common causes and find that common ground. And I think it edifies and strengthens the organization by having different people with diverse perspectives. It helps, everyone to contribute, see things differently, and work together, especially now more than ever with things being as divisive as they are. It's like, we need to come together and on these common issues and work together for all of us, because they affect us all, and we all need to acknowledge that. So I really appreciate you saying that.
Yeah.
And we did have the opportunity to meet Adam this past weekend. We went to a meeting for the New Hampshire Liberty Association, and there were a number of new legislators there. Adam was there speaking about reopen New Hampshire, excuse me, and they'll never reopen New York. And he spoke and talked about his organization, and a number of other people were talking about legislation to be put forth. So a lot of us are all of the same mindset, and I think getting these different groups together, as you mentioned, and helping us organize together as a communal body. I'd be happy to share this site on our site. We have a little blog that we started. We post like roughly every week. So if you would like, we can add that to what's on our site. And not a lot of traffic yet, but it will grow.
Well, we just started this out too, so absolutely, and we would definitely like to do the same thing.
Great.
Well, we'll have the Rebuild folks on in a future webinar, and also the 8.3 guys. So definitely we need to talk to each other and figure out how to enable all of these communities to work together efficiently. But I see we're doing several different things. Like I said, I think Rebuild is really more into the electoral thing, which is really important. And 8.3 was really more about rallies and getting people out on the streets and in the town squares. And we're supporting all of that, and I think most of us in this group are probably come at it more from a health freedom angle, but certainly politics is involved as well, and education, really brought more of a broad-based education, which, as you can see, I'm attempting to do with the website. But the whole point really is to get people there and signed up and engaged, because it's going to take all of us. We're trying to get people to write letters to the editor, because if we just put up with if people are not speaking up, then it's the assumption is everyone's okay with that. And, we pretty much can see what the mainstream take is on this, and even newspapers, it's hard for me to get a letter in now to the Sentinel.
Sure.
They're not publishing much of what I do. They did publish a few things, but it's really hard to get things in. And so it can't be just one voice. It has to be dozens and dozens of people talking all at once, all the time. So I'm like, every other week, everyone should be writing a letter to to their local newspaper at the very least.
Yeah.
Health freedom is huge on our list. It's one of the issues that's top on our list. And it's really important now more than ever to be diligent on what happens as the states lock down and shut down all facets of normal life. That's when they do things behind closed doors, roll out these mandates and these executive orders that they're so unconstitutional, but they pass them through, push big pharma's agenda through, vaccination schedules, all these additional things that we do not need or want and have every right to choose for ourselves. They do it under the cover of dark. And that's how insidious our political system is right now. So we have to be diligent in watching this. I can't tell you how many times I saw it in New York. It's criminal.
Yeah, absolutely. Criminal is right, and frightening.
Yeah, New York is the poster child for how not to do things.
my word.
It's really I'm glad that you were able to, I'm sad that you had to leave, but I'm glad you were able to get out.
Yeah.
We
and
were
come back.
planning, we were planning on leaving, you know, and I have to tell you, as a lifelong New York resident, I lived in New York for 49 years, and I watched New York City grow out of the 70s and 80s into the 90s and transition into a prosperous, thriving, safe, and amazing destination. And then to see it torn down back to like circa 1978 in a month's time, it was staggering to me that an elected official would allow this to happen. And it happened in blue cities all around the nation. And I could not believe how they just allowed it to happen overnight. I just stood back and watched it being torn down. I still go to New York for work periodically, and I don't even want to tell you the horror stories of what I see there.
Yeah, it's terrible. We actually lived in Southern Connecticut during the prosperous time when it was so nice, and we just take the metro down into the city and think nothing of it. You know,
Right.
We'd send our daughter down because she's a professional dancer, but we'd send her down on the train by herself, and she'd go take class in the city. And you know, she was a young teenager, and she lived in the city. Actually, she moved to the city when she was 17, and it's like, wow, not now.
No, it's terrible what goes on. I don't even want to get into the details of the atrocities that are happening, but it's horrible. Our oldest son lived on the Upper East Side, just finished college right before everything happened. And as soon as everything started shutting down, I broke his lease. He vacated the apartment, and we just got out of there. And shortly after, we moved here to New Hampshire.
Yeah. I just wanted to say we got a comment in our Q&A section. So Jen was saying, Ann Custer has sent out an email promoting masks save lives and make sure to get your flu shot. It's very difficult to have a discussion with folks when they see this. And yeah, I mean, we're all familiar with that. And it's true. And then they just keep pounding masks save lives, and they just keep pounding the ridiculous fake numbers of COVID cases and tests and all of that. And it's just really terrible.
It's ridiculous. And Shoshana and I were just talking about that this morning. And it's like, okay, they're pushing this agenda and this narrative. And okay, so let's say they roll out this mask mandate and everyone wears masks. But you look around at the numbers, and the claims of cases are still on the rise. So what is it? Do masks work? Do masks not work? And when they do this, and it's like, okay, everybody puts on a mask, and it's like, they're just using this to oppress us, right? So for their agenda. So once they get everyone to comply, wear a mask, then what are they going to say? What's next? That's when we're going to start with all of like the quarantine camps and all that nonsense.
Yeah.
Especially since, you know, these measures came at the end of the death curve, you know, pandemic, so to speak. There's no exit strategy if you start something like that at the end, because it's only, you know, now that we're going into the flu season, you're only going to get more deaths. They're not really counting flus anymore, you know, and so it's all going to be COVID. And now I just is a great person I found on Twitter. His name is the Ethical Skeptic. And he was just identified that they're now going back in previous years and changing death numbers from different non-COVID things, so that they can make they're raising them so that they can make this year's all seem like it's COVID, not that other things. But we know that the non-COVID deaths this year, excess mortality has gone up largely because of the pandemic. People with Alzheimer's, people with dementia. You know, the elderly. We were going to talk about that today, Becky, and so I want to make sure we cover this. And you know, I'm sure you all heard of this, but I think I would love to hear people's stories of not being able to, you know, get in to see their elderly parents. There's this story of this nurse that tried to get her 97-year-old mother or parent out of a nursing home and was arrested. And you know, essentially they're under lockdown. I mean, it's like being in prison.
That happened in the happened in United Kingdom.
Okay.
But we see similar things here. I have several clients who work in nursing homes, and it's chilling. They are heartbroken. They cry after every shift. they just can't, one works in a nursing home in Athol, Mass. And she's like, they couldn't do Halloween decorations. They can't get together. There's going to be no Thanksgiving. There's not going to be any Christmas. They can't see family. And they're all, heavily medicated. They just keeping them all medicated. It's cruel and unusual punishment. And I can't, I feel guilty myself. Like, how are we allowing this to happen? We should just be rising up, and that's what we're trying to do. But it's like, there should be just massive outrage. Massive outrage.
And that's why we're trying to collect, we need to collect people. We need to collect bodies, minds, hearts. We need thousands and thousands speaking up.
Yeah.
Can I just add a footnote about, we are trying to save the old people because they die from this, and that's what we do to them, yes. And what is, I think, behind it all, and Kennedy really brings it forward, how do you get people to do these things, to allow these things? Because what we're seeing, if we are honest with ourselves, is an attack on humanity, on human beings in a fundamental way. How is it possible? Well, look, if you really get them afraid, and the masks, you want to cover up, and that's how it is. And then you keep them afraid, and therefore, if you follow what happens in the media, it is, the whole thing is, the deaths are not bothering us, but the cases are here. Just be afraid, people, because we know what we're doing and we'll help you through it, but we won't get there if you aren't afraid and do exactly what we say. This is an incredible takeover, dictatorial takeover. I went through 5 years of Nazi occupation in the Netherlands, and I can't believe what I'm seeing, and I believe we can be helpful in waking people up. Yes. Thank you for being there, these newcomers. That's wonderful.
I just had, Jen made another comment. She said, my 100-year-old grandma's roommate just died, and so she is completely alone. She can't go out to the dining room due to the quarantine, so she sees no one. A meal gets dropped off at her door. It's awful.
Oh.
Yeah, the excess deaths, the pandemic caused deaths, in the elderly are legion. And this particular person I was telling you about, the ethical skeptic, puts the account at the COVID-related, but not COVID-caused pandemic measure caused deaths at around 92,000 excess deaths that aren't really, they're not being counted as part of COVID either. And then the ones that are being counted as part of COVID are also, many of those are also pandemic caused, because we know that they, at least early on, they shut down access to hospitals and clinics. And so there's a lot of procedures that people weren't getting. People weren't, going there. If they had heart, chest pains, they weren't necessarily going right away. They weren't getting their cancer screenings. Now, some of this probably is good, some reprieve from the medical cartel is probably good, but for the people who are suffering chronic conditions, who are relying on those kinds of things, we know that there are a lot of excess deaths there as well. So we're just trying to get people educated and prepared to have conversations with people who know less. And did you happen to hear about this? Did you know about that? Just invitational conversations, because the pushback is legion when people are encounter this information that they don't know about.
Right.
What's that, Shoshana?
I said I am optimistic here in New Hampshire because it is a smaller population, and I think there is a larger percentage of people that have an open mind or are willing to have a civilized conversation. Coming from other parts in the country, we've already vilified people that aren't wearing their mask, right? We are starting to separate them out, right? With the fear, right? If you're not following along and being a part of the, we're all in this together, right? Instead of being able to have the conversation and look at things rationally, look at actual real numbers, right? Kind of peel back that onion, and let's, if we're really supposed to be protecting our elderly, how are we really protecting them by isolating them in a room, right? We know that that's causing more deaths from isolation, from them not being able to have those relationships that foster positivity and create life and momentum, right? So it's saying things like that. I feel like when I talk to people here and I kind of say, well, don't you think that's causing more of an issue than COVID is? If we look at the numbers, right? You go down the numbers, it's a 99% survival rate, really, for almost every single age bracket. Comorbidities, of course, are going to change that a little bit. But it's just being able, like you said, to get all of us as a collective to think and group together. And I really think here in New Hampshire, we have a really good shot of it. And I'm hopeful that this state can come together and really look out at what's happening in our nation, and say, you know, it's not going to happen here. And
be an example for
and
other
be an
states.
example for other states. When we came, we were really surprised. We used to go up to Canaan for the past 3 years. And we were very surprised by kind of this, I don't want to say liberal mentality, because I would think that we were progressive and liberal too, but this kind of fall in line, follow the narrative, right? Whatever the slogan was, you had to just do it. And there was no
Everybody just
individual
caved
thought.
so easily. I couldn't
Right.
believe it. And that's where the whole live free or comply concept came from, because we're outraged and we feel we have, as like independent thinking Americans, we have an obligation to say something, speak up for these people who are trapped in these nursing homes, these students who are trapped outside, not allowed in schools. We have to be a voice. We have to be a power. Someone has to do that. I have an obligation. I cannot look away.
No,
Yeah.
that's right.
I'm hopeful. I'm speaking with you.
We're staying
hearing
positive.
the other groups that are out there in New Hampshire. I think a lot of people will start to hear this message. We were, the other night we went to a function, and I was introduced to a woman, and she actually had used our Live Free or Comply banner on her Twitter page. We had never met. And she was so empowered by that. And I said, do you lobby? You know, I don't know exactly how it works here in New Hampshire when it comes to going to the Capitol and things, but just getting the land. And she said, no, I don't do anything like that. But I knew that sign meant something to her. Like it touched something. So it's like you said, just getting out there, getting people comfortable with having the conversation, with being able to talk to their neighbors, but also not to vilify people for if someone wants to go and wear their mask, if someone wants to wear a mask, a tutu, and, you know, a snail on their head, that's fine. But if I choose not to, I shouldn't be ostracized because of it.
Right.
That's kind of the position that I think we can show New Hampshire, right?
Yeah. The thing about, you know, the sort of the self-righteous wearing of the mask is that those of us who don't are considered, you know, uncompassionate. We don't care about people. We don't care if they get sick. And that message has to change too, because that's not the message. If that was what did it, you know, then fine. But that's just not the truth. And John, Michael, you have to really avail yourselves, Frank and Shoshana, with on the website. His ebook is fantastic, and all about the mask and more, much more. But
Did see that link. We did see that link.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yep.
Yeah, and I keep telling people it's an aggregation of information that's out there. So I'm really I need to credit, you know, the first order authors and researchers and investigators who are really out there on the front lines doing the work. But there need to be people like us who are consuming this, digesting it, finding different ways to talk about it. You'll find some flyers on downloadable flyers. We're going to make some more as well for different types of groups. You know, there's all different ways that we can approach this. There's, of course, the financial / political aspect of the Great Reset, which you probably know about.
Oh, yes.
And the military industrial complex and the AI surveillance
Yep.
Types of plans that, are being rolled out. And, as we speak, they're being rolled out. And so people simply need to be aware of them so that we can clearly say, I do not consent. We are aware of this, and, we need to also talk about the kind of civilization that we want to live in, because it's not this technocratic vision of central controllers, and that's where we're headed if people don't make a different choice.
Yeah.
And can I make a brief addition? I think that what we have in one way could be called an attack, and totalitarian grab by the white coats, and that's the doctors. And therefore the doctors that don't stand up make a difference, because somehow the reason so many people fall in, that there is this mythology about wearing the white coat and having the MD, and the MDs that are not speaking up, including those in our own communities, if we know them personally, we need to keep telling them that do no harm in the first place is the oath you took. Now you can hear left and right, whether you go from people who have come to the view that the harm done by the lockdown and the whole pandemic measures is considerably worse than anything that the coronavirus could possibly do. If there is truth in that, then how can you stand by what is going by? In other words, to encourage white coats, if you know them and talk to them. There is one locally that treats me, and a urologist that I highly respect. And I'm trying to see if I can meet with him personally, because I feel he has an open mind. It takes courage, people, and doctors, yeah. So damn it, the world is standing on edge, and we have to allow doctors somehow, because it's the mythology about doctors that's driving this worldwide lockdown, this takeover. And there are plenty of reasons for that too. The whole fact that the doctors who don't get censored, that should also get to people.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Because
there are many who don't, but, and it really is Big Pharma's control of the
Yes.
AMA. I mean, that's really what it is. Yeah.
My sister is a doctor, and she's in California, and she is involved in, private Facebook groups and different sort of like communities. And the way it was so easy for the powers that be to execute all of this is simply through fear. And they exercise that because in so many ways, all of us as humans are so dependent on the system that's in place. All they did was take away those abilities for us to access it. And they used fear, and fear of either the virus or fear of not working or fear of losing your livelihood. And that's exactly what they're doing in the medical communities. They're using fear to silence these people who know what's really happening, people who have said what's happening. They can't come out and speak out about it for fear of losing their jobs and their licenses and everything that they have invested in their entire career as professionals. And it's so easy for these bodies of power that have grown so strong to take that away with one strike. That's what's holding people back. Not everybody is financially independent. Not everybody has an independent practice. And even those people who are strong and are able to do things, they're still getting attacked.
What makes, again, hopeful about New Hampshire is New Hampshire, they have a homeopathy here. You can treat, you are a licensed homeopath here. In New York, you cannot be licensed. It's not, you cannot, your insurance can't cover it. So there seems to be a better support for people in the medical community. And if we can, in legislation and in the medical boards here, make sure that doctors are not threatened with having their license pulled. Because I know in New York, the second a doctor tries to speak up, they've got the medical board on them trying to pull their license or fining them, and they start to weigh it. You know what, maybe I'll just retire and not, you know, lose everything that I worked so hard for. And I can understand that. But here in New Hampshire, I think if we support our doctors and make sure that there isn't any negative outcome for them speaking up, then we might be able to get more of them to come forward and be a voice that they can be proud of and look back up and say they were able to maintain and uphold their oath that they took at the beginning of their careers. I'm hoping.
I would say, you know, I can see, because you
can say it.
well, I'm sorry, I was just typing something to Jen in the Q&A. But what I want to say is, you know, the AMA is so controlled across the country by Big Pharma that standard of care, I mean, doctors have had their hands tied all across in every state for a very long time. And it's only worse and worse. So, I mean, you know, if your numbers for cholesterol fall outside the parameter, your doctor has to, by standard of care, write a prescription for a statin drug. And they have to, whether they agree with it or not, or they are subject to losing their license. They are subject to getting fired. So this has been something that is nothing new. As you well know, this has been going on for decades, and it just keeps getting worse and worse. Our medical schools are staffed by Big Pharma. That's who the faculty are. Yes. And they use 3 tools, and that's, you know, medical procedures, surgery, and medications. And they're the only legal entity that can diagnose, cure, or treat disease. So we've let them, we've let them go for so long and not stepped in way sooner than we should have. And now we come here, and COVID is now the huge coup. Just the icing on the cake, the straw that breaks a camel's back. And I'm glad, it's nice to hear you say, you know, comparatively, that you feel hopeful about New Hampshire. And I hope that's true, because it's super important. And we've already had in this state, people in foster care, people who are foster parents, are mandated vaccines. Their children, their natural born children are mandated vaccines. We're making things tougher and tougher and tougher. And yeah.
We've seen how that goes. We've seen it all from the other side. And we have to stop it now here in New Hampshire. We still have a chance. And that's why we're hopeful, and we're optimistic, and we're going to stay strong, and we're going to stick to that fight. But I also feel personally responsible for a lot of these things, allowing them to happen, because it's our own fault. We needed to stand up and say something while this was happening sooner, and we didn't. And I take responsibility for that. I'm not laying that blame on everybody else's feet who didn't say anything, but we're all free-thinking adults. We're supposed to be aware of these things. We're supposed to object. We're supposed to use all of our freedoms and all of the power of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights to object to this overlord totalitarianism that's taken over.
Yeah, well, that's what we're trying to do. Jen did actually, and she had emailed me earlier this morning about homeopathics are right this minute on the brink. They're going to be deemed illegal by the FDA. Go to Americans for Homeopathy to support or write in. Yeah. And then also she said today, Sherry Tenpenny on her Instagram interviewed David Martin today on Topping Pharma. He's doing it through patents. And John Michael, you were telling me about that earlier.
Yes, in fact, I was just starting to watch that video with Sherry. I'll definitely stick it up on our website under the video section, under research resources videos. It's incredible. David Martin has been putting out excellent work since the beginning of the pandemic. I recommend his YouTube channel. He was in Plandemic, the movie. If you haven't seen it, highly recommend watching that. And but it didn't cover really his background. He has a background in patents and medicine, and so he knows what he's talking about. And I'm very curious to see, you know, what he's unrolling here. But I've seen him on a bunch of different conversations, including some really good ones with Del Bigtree. And he said, you know, there was one in particular that he said, I'm joining your efforts, and you know, Gerhard and I were like, yes, yes. So, because he's a very smart guy. He doesn't come across as a tinfoil hatter. He knows the system from the inside out. And, we need all of us. There's only so much I can do as a citizen. I can help educate, but I have to, we have to support these other efforts that are going on in all the different areas. I think it's like all hands on deck. Whoever you are, whatever whoever network as much as you can, get people involved, cross-share our websites. I've already added Live Free or Comply to our other New Hampshire-based advocacy group. Well, you can go right there. You're already on our website, man. Let's do a modern pine tree riot. Let's see what we can do, with flash mobs and whatever else we can do.
I was also going to say, I was going to talk to you later personally about, I'd like to, again, have you could maybe as radio guests. I have a weekly radio show on Saturdays. And I always put out a newsletter that you can see my newsletters, like the one I was just showing you on my website, talking about it. So I will also be promoting in next week's newsletter your contacts and your stuff. So that'll be really good. Yeah.
By and large, what we've, the face-to-face exposure we've had with people with stuff, we handed out some stickers, etc., and it's been very well received. And people have taken it, and we only hope that it inspires everybody, other people, just everyday people who are in their travels, to think and just wake up, please. Yeah. We need people now more than ever. And that's why we have the signs. We put up a big banner near one of the schools here in Bedford. So we're trying. We're doing whatever we can.
I'm so glad you are.
Good.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and feel free to, if you like our flyers, feel free to reproduce them, give them out liberally. Yep.
Yeah, and I'll be getting some of your stuff because I have a business here. People are in and out all the time. I'm a holistic healthcare practitioner. So. An herbalist, so I'll be getting stuff from you because
where are you located?
What's that?
Where are you located?
In Keene.
You're in Keene. Okay. Yeah, we're happy to get materials to you.
Yeah, good. Awesome.
I am so glad that you joined us. Thank you, and I feel encouraged by the whole session today.
Yeah.
So do we.
Me too. All right, well, we're at 2 o'clock, 2:01, so why don't we say goodbye? And again, contact me, you guys, through my website, and I'll get you as regular established panelists for this.
Wonderful, we would love that.
Okay, we're very happy to have you. Thanks, Kathy and Jen, for joining us as well, and everybody have a wonderful week, and
thanks, everybody.
Keep working together. Okay.
Let's do this.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.